daydream. Know what I mean? You like the perfect beat to an MPC. You inspire me, Stevie.
Work hard, play hard, homeboy, everybody ain't calling out. Got a mouthpiece from the southeast, if you want scrap, stall him out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then I feel good, man, I'm balling out. I'm a rich man with a rich fam, Christ bars got me out of mama house. And I bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Big God, big grace. Big God, big grace. Big God, big grace. Big God, big grace. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Big God, big grace.
What it do, baby? It's your partner looking old, so fresh, cold, clean. You see that thing, guys, man, in my pink little bit, man. Take that picture for your mom and them guys. And I want to welcome you guys to another edition of the Countermove podcast, where we kind of lean in and look at life at a wise perspective, and then kind of prescribe the right solution. Now, if you are looking for a debate, do me a quick favor for you guys. Hit that X button on the top or left hand side and skedaddle out here. We're not into no debates right now, guys. We into kind of trying to reason, leaning the reason together, guys. So thank you so much for blessing me with your time. And this subject today, guys, was a very interesting subject to me because of the fact that I am a big fan of data and also a huge fan of wisdom. And I love being the student in the room and being able to kind of sit back, lean in and reason together and kind of just lean in and just listen kind of in the corner like some chicken in the corner, rotisserie in the corner. And I stumbled onto, I'm a big fan of valuetainment and Patrick David and his team. Great wisdom, great information. And I said, guys, I said, and they brought on a good guy that I've heard of, and I've heard him speak a little bit, but not a lot. Hadn't really paid attention to him, but it was Bob Woodson, and they were talking about Black history, and I just said, let me kind of listen to see what's going on. And what tripped me out is they were talking about the untold history and solutions in Black history, and it just kind of caught my attention, and I said, man, let me kind of listen to this and as a student and see if I understood something, and also kind of widen the circle a little bit as I was listening to it. And I brought in my immediate family, my wife, and then my external family, my mother, and some good friends of mine, colleagues of mine, because I always want to learn and reason. And said, hey guys, listen to this and really give me your authentic thoughts on this. And it was such a healthy discussion. And I just said, man, I think this may be good for me to kind of do a kind of a podcast on, because there was some information being communicated within this healthy exchange that I didn't know about at all. And one of the wise counsel that I sought was my mom. And man, it was kind of interesting to see as we begin to talk about this video that we're about to embark in and listen to together, guys, and react to together. It's just the commonality and the different reasoning and the different perspectives and how healthy and organic the discussions were. And I said, you know what? I think I need to widen the circle and bring this in and see what's going on, guys. And so, guys, this is Bob Woodson and Patrick McDavid. And what tripped me out is this is a discussion that they had. They invited Patrick and his team, invited Bob on, and and Patrick, they talked to a lot of people. I mean, it's crazy, from Kobe to Shaq. They brought on people that agree with, disagree with, mobsters, you name it. They brought them on. I just said, you know what? Let me kind of see what they're talking about. And guys, let's listen to this, and I'll kind of react. And in the comment section, give me your thoughts too, because I'm into different perspectives here. So let's listen and see what's going on. And it's going to begin a little bit spicy, a little bit, but not spicy in the sense of debating, just on the different type of perspectives. And Patrick actually asked some very good questions here. And Bob also responded with some information, guys, I didn't know about it all. So, guys, let's listen and reason together and see what's going on. Let's dive in real quickly.
It is not a race problem in America.
When you say that, a lot of people would disagree with you, and they would say, "How could you say that? You know, maybe you're maybe it wasn't back then, but you don't know the America today. You know, you don't know what's going on with the challenges they're facing and the level of racism they're experiencing today in the marketplace because maybe you are disconnected, kind of like how you were when you thought everybody was black until you joined the Army and you realized that your unit only 8 were black. What do you say to the people that literally 100% disagree with you and they say there is racism today? It is a challenge.
From the get-go, you hear Bob come out with a point, and then you actually have a great, healthy counter question to the point Bob just made from Patrick. Great question, Patrick. Let's see how Bob responds.
Challenging time today. What do you say to them?
I say, look at the evidence. Look at the evidence. You know, a lot of people are like the farmer that came to the creek when it was like coming, it was 3 feet high and moving at about 20 miles an hour, and he forced the mule in and they were swept down the creek.
Okay.
A year later, he comes to the same crossing. This time it's only 6 inches. The mule refuses to go in because the mule had good memory but poor judgment.
Oh, that is a deep statement that he just said. Man, let's go a little deeper, man. Let's go a little deeper. Come on.
Conditions were not like they were back in segregation when I was locked up twice in Mississippi. The conditions have changed, but many of us have.
So right there from the get-go, Bob, who's born in 1937, which is, I think, right at the tail end or of the Depression. So Bob brings not an authority type of discussion. He brings an experiential saying that, okay, I know I communicated racism doesn't exist in America as a problem. He actually has experienced racism, so to speak. And the thing about it is my mom actually agreed with him concerning that because my mom did as well also. But man, let's keep going, man. This is so healthy. Let's go.
But again, look at the evidence. When whites were at their worst, we were at our best. As I said, in 1930 to 1940, when segregation and racism was enshrined in law, blacks had the highest marriage rate of any group in society. Elderly people could walk safely in those.
That's an interesting point. So he is confirming in the 1930s that when racism was actually enshrined into law, he was saying that African Americans actually there were higher marriages. That was interesting to hear. Didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that fact at all. But hey, let's keep going, guys. I digress. My bad.
Those communities without fear of being assaulted by their grandchildren. So let's look at the evidence. When we refused access to hotels, we built our own hotels, financed by our own means.
Well, wait a minute. And I mean, so we're building our own hotels now. I'm loving this untold history. I'm loving this because of the fact that we only hear a certain type of history, but he's bringing us a different perspective that he's experienced himself because he lived back then. Let's keep going because he begins naming some hotels. Here we go.
The Wallahaji in Atlanta, the Carver and Calvert Hotel in Florida. The St. Charles in Chicago, the St. Teresa in New York. I could go on and on. When we were denied access to colleges, we built our own. And in fact, our small business formation rate was higher than whites in the 20s, and that really determines any group's.
Wait. So entrepreneurship was higher in the 20s in the black community than the whites? That fact, I didn't know that at all. So this is untold history that me specifically, I didn't know about. He was naming hotels, black hotels. And I love what Bob said is when we were not let into hotels back in the 20s and 30s, we built our own with our own means. Man, I'm loving this type of talk about black history. Let's get it. And then he talked about how entrepreneurship in the 20s was higher in the black community than the white community. This is not a bash on the white community at all. We're just talking about Black history here. This is great information. Where is this information at? Why don't we know this information about our Black history? This is excellence. Let's keep going, y'all.
Participation in the economy, it is not what government does for you or what white people do. In fact, I think those who continue to push this race agenda are Eurocentric.
Ooh.
They assume that the destiny of blacks is determined by what white people do. That has never been the case.
Whoa.
We closed the education gap in the South between 1920 and 1940. How do we do it? Julius Rosenwald, the CEO of Sears, came together with Booker T. Washington, and he put up $4 million. The Black community matched it with $4.8 million. We built 5,000 schools to teach ex-slaves how to read and write.
Wait a minute. Huh? Where is this history at? It's showing that we actually had means, we had intelligence, we had strategy, we had know-how, we know how to structure deals. This is excellence. Where is this history at? Building, so the CEO of the Sears Roebuck Company partnered with Booker T. Washington in the Black community, and they had 8.8 million, 4 million coming from the CEO of Sears. And then at 4.8 coming from the Black community, and it's 8.8, and we built 5,000 schools. Like, where is this history? And it's to teach slaves how to read. Where is this history at? This is excellence. Where is this type of talk from? Let's keep going.
And as a consequence of that study, that in between 1920 and 1940, the education gap in the South between whites and blacks was 3 years. Eighth grade for whites, fifth grade for blacks. Mm-hmm. Within 20 years, that gap closed within 6 months.
Wow.
There were 5 high schools at the turn of the century in New York, Baltimore, Washington, Atlanta, and New Orleans.
Yeah.
They had used textbooks, overcrowded classrooms, half the budgets of white schools.
Huh?
But every one of those schools out-tested every white school in those cities.
What?
If we were able to close the education gap between 1920 and 1940,
wow,
through self-determination and hard work, if we were able to out-test white schools in those cities,
wow,
then the question is, in those same schools today in Baltimore, for instance, where they're run by blacks, not a single student could read at grade level or perform at grade level.
This is...
And so how...
I'm hearing a lot of excellence here. Like where is this history? Where are these numbers? Where is this data? Like, this is excellence here. This is awesomeness here. This is, man, it just shows you when a people group, or when anyone, a business, a people group comes together behind, on one accord, behind one vision with the same mission, you can accomplish so much. Look at this excellence. Where is this information at? Let's keep going, Bob. Teach us something.
How can you say that it is racism that is the cause of the present day challenges?
Okay.
When under segregation, we achieved. One other example we gave.
So he's saying at the height of racism, right, which he was birthed in 1937, and grew through the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, on up, right? He's saying is when racism was enshrined into law, blacks were succeeding, were killing the game. Now, of course, you actually have your hindrances, of course, no problem. It is what it is. I'm rocking with you. We're not negating any of that, but he's giving evidence, facts of excellence, black excellence. Where is this history at? Now, watch this, guys. As my mom and I were listening to this while we were driving, now she was born in the 60s, right? She was listening to this information. And so my mom, guys, she is a super liberal. She votes 100% Democrat, and it's all fine. That's great. No problem with it at all. I am independent, but I lean conservative, right? Bob Woodward is a conservative, right? And what tripped me out is as she was listening to this, I said, Mom, you bring a different intellect to this than I do because you've actually lived some of this history he's talking about, right? She said, yes. I said, is what he's saying, are you aware of this history here? My mom said what he's talking about concerning the Sears Roebuck and the black community raising $8.8 million and building 5,000 schools for black slaves to be able to read. Didn't know about that at all. She said, I didn't know anything about hotels or none of that. So what he's saying at the time frame, she said, I myself, son, I didn't know any of the information. I'm like, well, that's a problem. We should be knowing this information. Why don't we know it? This is excellence. Excellence in execution. Why don't we know this? Why is this being withheld from us? I want to know. Let's keep going because he's not done.
Gave from our studies. In 1943, blacks were prohibited from being naval officers.
Okay.
Eleanor Roosevelt was persuaded her husband to train them. So they selected 16 black college-educated men for training.
Okay.
The Naval Academy. Not the Academy, the Naval Training Center.
Okay.
The Navy says, aha, we're going to give these black cadets in 8 weeks what we give white cadets in 16 so they wash out.
Mm-hmm.
When these brothers found out what the deal was, they covered the windows in their barracks and stayed up all night and studied. And when they were tested, they scored in the 90th percentile.
Wow.
So then they said, well, they cheated. So they tested them individually. They scored in the 93rd percentile.
Wow.
13 of them eventually became naval officers. They called them the Golden 13.
Gold 13.
Google this.
That test, the test scores today has never been bettered.
Wow.
So again, I respond.
Dad, where is this excellent black history at? Where? Why are we not being taught this information? What's going on? My mom said she didn't know about the Golden 13. Now, you may say, is it real? Let's keep going.
Find people with evidence.
Receipts.
The incarceration rates of blacks from the turn of the century up to the 60s was under 25%.
Incarceration was under 25%.
Under 25%.
Where are we at today?
It shot up to I think it was like 90,000 blacks were in jail.
Jesus.
In 1960. That went up to 900,000.
Wow.
Over the next 30 years.
Why do you think that is? What happened?
Good
what
question.
changed?
In our studies, red, white, and black, we looked at the experiences. We looked at 6 major plantations.
Wow. Okay.
To find out what the state of marriage was of slaves.
Okay.
75% of those slaves had a man and woman raising children.
Whoa. 75%.
The nuclear family continued to prosper in the face of segregation for 100 years.
Whoa.
But all of that changed in the 60s with the poverty program.
Oh.
Lyndon Johnson?
Oh.
Yes. Johnson came in, and what happened was the social scientists who were pushing socialism on America, Cloud and Piven at Columbia, said if you disconnect work from income, then school dropout rates will increase, drug addiction, all of those things. And so what the government did was offer welfare as an alternative to a man in the house. We relaxed the rules. We separated work from income, and as a consequence, that was supported by the Black Power movement. Also, the women's movement was anti-man.
Wow.
And so you had a combination of social policy, but policy alone wouldn't have done it. The federal government enticed blacks to go on welfare. Blacks' welfare used to be stigmatized in the black community. But the federal...
Stop right there. I asked this question to my mom, who was born during that time frame, right? I said, Mom, is what he's saying correct about welfare? She said, yes. She said, growing up, your grandmother and grandfather said, we will not be on welfare. In this house, you're going to get an education and you're going to also work, right? And I said, damn. Wow. She said, yes, he is 100% correct, LaDale. Matter of fact, there was a family around the corner from our house. This is my mom talking. And she said that for 3 to 4 generations, and she said as they were growing up, that family stayed on welfare. And your grandmother and grandfather said that will not be our family. I said, oh my word. My mom then said also, LaDale, when we would go back to my grandma's house, guys, for family reunions, things of that nature, the house said we had a large piece of land. We still have it, large piece of land, and you have the main house there, and then we there was a mobile home there, right? And my great grandmother was there. We called her Big Mama. She was there. And what tripped me out with Big Mama is we had to go say hi to Big Mama. She was kind of mean to us all the time because she would always pinch us all the time. And I always want to spank us all the time. But it's okay. We still love Big Mama. My mother told me, as we were listening to this, she said, did you know growing up, your great-grandmother, Big Mama, actually had a general store right next to this mobile home. She said, and all the black families came and bought all of their groceries there. We talking about bread, jelly, produces, chicken, grandma, you name it, they bought it from him. I had no clue about this entrepreneurial inclination that my family actually had. I just said, what in the world is going on here? Just the excellence in execution. When my mom kept giving me example of when faced with opposition, right? How they came together and they countermoved the opposition. They better strategized. They better negotiated. They better serviced. And this is my own history with my family. I just said, golly, this is crazy town. And I said, wow, like the Golden 13, my mother had no clue who that was. Nothing about it. Why don't we know about the excellence in Black history? I'm not done, y'all. You guys know that George Washington Carver, right? Prominent black man. You know what I'm talking about? Guess who he actually worked closely with when it came to developing the car? Your man Henry Ford. Ford only had 2 cars. That cars in 2 colors, I'm sorry. Black and white. Guess who came and helped your boy Henry Ford out with that problem? George Washington Carver. Didn't know about that at all until today. Where is this excellent Black history? Where is it? Because my generation, the generation after me, and the generation and my kids need to know of this excellence and execution for Black history that brought solutions to the communities. It's good, God. He's not done. Let's go get it in.
Federal government began to interpret it as reparations. And as entitlements. They withdrew any requirement that you should tell the paternity of the father, paternity in cases of pregnancy.
So he's talking about welfare, the welfare program via LBJ, right? He's talking about how that program forced or incentivized single parent households. So it forced the man out of the home, which is totally opposite of what it was in the 20s and 30s and 40s. To where marriage was at a high peak in the African American community, right? So he's giving why, because the question is, why did it change the welfare system and incentivize single households, no dual parent households, no father in the home. He gonna go a little deeper. Let's get it in.
Of pregnancy, all of these, so that more Blacks came into the welfare system in the first 5 years of the 70s.
Wow.
That millions flooded into the system at a time when the unemployment rate was under 4%.
Mm-hmm.
So you mean to tell me millions of people flooded into the welfare system when the unemployment rate was under 4% in the first 5 years of the welfare system being introduced? Millions of people? Millions. Let's keep going, guys. And now I'm beginning to see what's going on. Let's get it.
So it is a combination of social policies plus the civil rights movement morphed into a race grievance industry.
Wow.
And many of those civil rights leaders became mayors and elected to public office.
Oh.
Where we spent $22 trillion during that period on programs to aid the poor.
Wow.
Where 70 cents of every dollar went not to the poor, but those who served the poor.
What percentage of it?
70%.
70% of the 22 trillion went to the people that serve the poor.
They ask which problems are fundable, not which problems are solvable.
Right there. When there's $22 trillion have been spent, and 70% of that goes in the wrong direction when it comes to this welfare system thing, that nature, guys. When it comes to solving the problem, and you ask the question, is what is fundable, not solvable? The intent was never to solve the problem. The intent was to continue to exploit the problem, to effectively monetize being poor. It incentivized it. Let's keep going, guys. Let's keep going. Now I'm beginning to see the difference in when racism was at its highest and now. And guys, everybody that I spoke to, my mother, a friend of mine as well, who leans a little bit liberal as well, other conservatives as well, guys, which is fine. No matter the side of independence, they were like, whoa, didn't know any of this information. And so innocent information. My mom knew about the decentralization of welfare system. That's why my grandma and grandfather said no to this at all when it came to welfare. She knew about all this. Let's keep going.
So in other words, a friend of mine described it this way. He's having a cabin built in Wisconsin. His electrician is a drunk, and the carpenter is has one leg. Mm-hmm. Their value to him is their skill. Mm. But if he was a disabilities director, their value to him would only be the disability.
Wow.
So we have a situation where we have really created a commodity out of poverty.
Wow.
And by the way, when you're saying these numbers, what it makes me think about is this. So why, if you go back 1940s, only 4% of kids that were born in America are to a single mother. Okay,
right.
That increased from 4% to 40%.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and the numbers are staggering. Where it's at today, specifically 70% in blacks and different in different communities. Why do you think this happened? And if you were to say, well, here's how we can get away from this. This is how to fix it. So one, why did it happen? How do we get here? Two, how would you fix it?
Well, first of all, we got here because we had the social policy that incentivized single parents.
Wow.
In other words, I had a young couple. She said that my husband's a janitor and I'm a secretary, and he lost his job.
Okay.
She said, I applied for welfare as a married couple and they refused me.
Wow.
But she said, if I was a single mother, then I can get help.
Wow.
And so you really provide a disincentive for marriage, and you wonder why you get it. You get more of what you reward and less of what you punish.
Exactly.
And so over those decades, we have punished single parent households. The more you work, the more in other words, the more you work, the more perverse incentives for you. If I work and get a raise, I'm going to lose childcare. So that's why we have a system that disincentivizes work.
Wow.
And marriage.
He's correct.
And you had certain politicians that would use that, but they would spin it for votes. Oh, we're paying poor women to have kids. You would hear that in political speeches. I'm going to change that. We're paying poor women to have kids. And it made it sound like that the poor women were the problem,
right.
that they're just taking advantage of it. When you go back and what you're talking about, I think it's important to look at Lyndon Johnson and remember when they were saying the Great Society, it was Great Society for who?
Good question.
Because the government was our government has been actually pretty bad at getting Americans to move and change. They're pretty good at getting us upset.
Yes.
But they really don't get Americans, if you look at history, to really move and change. Our government has never really led. But our government has been excellent at being a catalyst of where they want us to go and to let us go. And to your point, they create this catalyst. You know, what they say with explosive, the explosive isn't the problem, it's the catalyst you put in the explosive. Right. So always keep those guys separate.
Yeah.
Government has been the catalyst. And what you're talking about is what they did is they knew what they were doing. And they knew that these things would be a catalyst of changing behavior because they couldn't stand at the pulpit of government and demand that you change, but they could put things out there and sit back and watch. And that's what you're saying.
Right, but I also realized that
this is so good.
The question is, what are solutions?
There we go.
If you say that 70% of those families are raising children that are dropping out of school, it means 30% are not. What we do at the Woodson Center is we go into low-income communities and we go into the homes of the 30% to find out what is going on in those households.
Yeah.
These are people who are raising children that are not dropping out of school, they're not in jail, they're not on drugs. They are confronted with the same economic circumstances. And so the question is, what is it that's going on there?
Right,
that's
because success leaves
clues.
clues.
Success leaves clues.
That's why I fault conservatives also, is that they have been preoccupied when it comes to poverty, but only studying failure.
Come on,
so Charles Murray and some of the others, all they do is talk about, okay, if people on welfare, let's take away the perverse incentives. I'm for work requirements.
Okay.
I'm for drug testing.
Okay.
But you can't stop there.
Come on.
What we do at the Woodson Center is that we go look for capacity.
Yes, we do.
And so many of the people in the 30%, we need to hold them up and take what works for the 30% and expand it to the 70%. And that's what we do. But it's a moral and spiritual crisis, and it is not an economic and social crisis.
Keep cooking.
But policy, be the left or right of center, takes very little into account of restoration, moral redemption, faith. And many of our groups who have been able to survive under the worst of circumstances is because of their faith. But the whole issue of faith is not even a factor in supporting people's restoration. We have gone into some of the most drug-infested, crime-ridden neighborhoods where there were 53 gang murders in the 5 square block area in 2 years, 25 years ago, in D.C. We supported 5 young men who were ex-offenders who came to Christ and became redeemed. But they had the moral authority and the social trust of their peers.
They do.
And so they went into these neighborhoods and brought the leadership of these kids who were doing destructive things. And they became agents of remoralization of these kids. And it's just like in the marketplace, only 3% of the people are entrepreneurs. They generate 70% of the jobs, right? Well, a lot of these organizations are social entrepreneurs. It only takes a small number of them if you can change them and make them an agents of a restoration. They can change a whole community. And we found that to be the case in this community called Benning Terrace, by just going in and reaching 16 kids who were leading predators and changing their values and their attitudes.
How do you do that?
By witnessing to them. You take some man who has been in jail, who has faced all the challenges from an abused household and saying, you are not defined by the worst of what you were. And I'm a witness that you don't have to stay there because you've been there.
Where did this self-help mindset come to you?
Oh, this is good.
Where did this self-help mindset come?
By looking at what we did in the past. In other words, what I've done by learning, if our people could, in the face of slavery and discrimination, build families and restore their communities, then all we've got to do is go back and take the values that served the interests of our people then and apply them today. In other words, taking old values and apply them to new realities. with the consequence that you can. But a witness is more powerful than an advocate. And experience will always prevail against an argument. I debated this with Hawk Newman. It's on YouTube for 1 hour. I didn't argue with him. I confronted his proposition with my facts. And saying, if we were able to learn and close the education gap under segregation, why can't we do it today?
Man, y'all, it is, man. Whew. Brother, y'all, there's so much wisdom that was just shared there. So much wisdom and excellence and solutions given there and experience. And man, just so, it was so, and guys, to be honest with you, it really galvanized healthy discussions with my immediate family and of course my external family, my mother and friends as well, consider this topic. And it was just, no matter if you had a liberal bent or conservative bent or just an independent bent, I mean, it was just, I mean, healthy. I see you off script, baby. I see you, my man Scotty, man. He was one of the gentlemen that I actually reached out to, and he gave some great commentary on it as well, man. Wonderful guy. If you don't know off script, man, follow this guy. He's the voice of HBCU sports. Scotty, my man with Off Script Media Group. My man's in them. But guys, man, here's my reaction to this, man. It's just real quick. I'm gonna get in and I'm gonna get out. And again, I thank you so much for your time, guys. A lot of in our discussions with my internal family and external family, the one thing we agreed upon, no matter if you were liberal, conservative, or down the middle, or whatever leaning, all of us concluded that when it comes to Black history, the lion's share of the discussion, right, guys, hinges just on the negative part of Black history, the slavery part of Black history. And we should discuss that. Great. But the discussion normally stops there. We all agreed to this. And then we all uniformly said, why don't we talk about the Black excellence? We talk about when we were now allowed into hotels. We built our own hotels with our own money. Why don't we talk about the successful marriages back in when racism was enshrined into law? Why don't we talk about the 5,000 schools that were built for slaves to learn how to read? Why don't we talk about how the schools that were underfunded, using borrowed books or used books, overcrowded with Black kids, had a 3-year learning deficiency right there. In 10 years, between 1930 and 1940, it went from, it's a 10 to 20 years, 1 or 2. It went from 3 years to 6 months. And they were underfunded. Just seeing the excellence in execution. And I said, another thing, guys, my aunt, Aunt Christine, she used to work for the Bear's Bread Company. Everybody most likely, depending on what area of the country you were in, there was a company called Mrs. Baird's Bread. Well, my aunt actually worked for that company. And I was invited to be the MC last summer to her retirement. They wanted to throw another party for her retirement. Well, she had already retired, but they wanted to throw another party for her. The Bear's Bread Company. And I walked in, and you saw whites and blacks. I got to meet the founders' children, which was great, and just to sit back and get wisdom from them, and to hear the Baird family saying, "Hey, when we was founded our company, we didn't know what HR was, we didn't know what payroll was, we didn't know how to fix these problems." And they would say, if it wasn't for our workers who partnered with us, we wouldn't have figured this out. And they would trip me out is they'll say one of the guys that actually ran the HR My Aunt Christine actually really ran the HR because he didn't know how to do it. But she did. And at the exact same time, every single worker went home every night with bread and a pie for their families. And I just say, wow, and how they just enjoyed working with one another. And I'm like, and I'm seeing this and I'm saying, whoa. And then and they're saying, why didn't America look like this? And I just said, whoa. There was no discussion of the negativity. It was all of, hey, when we were faced with a problem, hey, we counter moved, man, and we had to come up with a solution because if we didn't, the business wouldn't have worked. And there was joy in solving problems, joy in going to work, joy in going back home to wife and the kids. So much joy. And I'm like, this is crazy. I'm actually going to interview one of the Bears' children on the Countermove podcast interview series. And she's going to tell you the stories, just phenomenal stories of Black excellence. I mean, excellence, guys. That's the one thing I could say about us as a people is, man, we know how to make sense out of chaos once we put our minds to it. We know how to do it. I've met so many brothers and sisters that are entrepreneurs, that are social entrepreneurs. I'll give a couple guys. My man, Brian Adamson, my dude out of Michigan, young brother, a mighty man of God, love his wife, wonderful father, man, real estate mogul like your partner. Came from nothing to something. You know what I'm saying? Didn't focus on any negativity. He understood it, but he counter-moved to where now he's a multi-millionaire in real estate, right? I got another guy. Principal Ra. That's another guy who's an entrepreneur in the teacher space. My man saw a problem in the inner cities, brother, in California. I believe he's in Compton, I believe LA, and founded his own school, own high school, man, sending people to college, man. And to see what he's been able to do, partner with the LA Clippers, partner with Dame Dash, just the counter move when faced with opposition, no matter what color brings it, the counter move and the creativity. I got to preach on that. AKA Smiles. She's another young lady. Saw an issue as a teacher when it came to finding her school. I believe she's in the Maryland area, man. Went out, she's the queen of getting grants. The queen. If you want a grant, you need to reach out to AKA Smile. She gets you a grant. Got all the grants, man. I was blessed to be on the call for her when it came to the city, and they gave her what she needed for her school, and she killing the game. Young sister in the teacher game. There's countless stories after stories when you focus not on the negativity, but also on the excellence and execution of Black folks counter moving when faced with opposition and building empires. That's what I'm talking about as a people, guys. So yeah, we could talk about slavery, and that's cool, and that's wonderful, and let's get it. But let's also talk about the excellence in execution when it comes to us as a people, guys. If we could transform our mentalities, guys, and begin to think and say, you know what? I see a problem. Let me come up with a solution. You can't be stopped. That's the one thing about it. We can make sense out of chaos. Because why? We've been in it. We've been in the hood. That's how I could be a chameleon out of the boardroom and be at the same table as Jerry Jones and them people that you see on TV negotiating deals, not only in the U.S., but internationally. Yeah, I did it. I'm doing it now. Why? Because I have a counter move, guys. That's what it is. But it's just, man, there's so many. Earn your leisure. That's a podcast, man. These cats killing it, man. Come on, man. There's so many examples out there. My man Deontay, he's one of the most wisest wealth managers that I ever seen break down retirements and life insurance. My man Ned, if you heard that man's story, my God, the stats should say he shouldn't be where he is right now. Young brother, married, beautiful wife, 2 kids, successful businessman, and getting it, man. Hey, there's so many type of examples. If we just stop looking into the past, guys, at the negative and begin to think forward thinking. There's so many examples, guys, man. It is something, as the Bible says, as a man thinketh in his mind, so is he. So if your mind is only on the negative, don't be surprised if you're always complaining. Because it's where your mind rests at. It's what it rests at, guys. There's so many different examples. So many different. My man Shivy, out of ATL, he's in it with Principal Rob. Hey, he get in it on the educational tip. There's so many examples, y'all. Man, let's start complaining, man. All right, complaining. We can complain, but once we get finished venting, let's begin to execute, guys. Plan, execute, guys. So, man, what's the Countermove? I'm sorry, guys. I was on my soapbox. My bad, y'all. My fault. My bad. But it is what it is. It had to be said, man. What's the Countermove? I always say, peep it, sweep it, and then keep it. I always say, guys, examine your current situation. That's the people size. Are you forward thinking, or does your thoughts reside in the past? Your answer is going to tell me how your mind works. Are you forward thinking, or does your thoughts reside in the past? All right. Now, on the sweeper side, right? What has this approach, whether you're a forward thinker or someone that rests in the past, what has that yielded you? Are you in the place where you are that you want to be? Are you in that place? If the answer is no, it's time to change how you're thinking, right? It's real simple. All right. Is it working for you? And then, guys, keep it. Start thinking generationally. All right. Yeah. Your solution should not end with you. They should live beyond you. If your solution begins and ends with you, you've missed it. You've missed it. But if your solution begins with you and lives beyond you, oh man, that's a world-changing thought process. It is, guys. It really, really, really is, man. So it's just, man, this video here, it really kind of galvanized me. This discussion was so healthy between Patrick and Bob Woodson, and to be able to see how whether they were liberals or conservatives, no matter what aisle you were on, I asked this one question, guys. I ended with this. I said, "Mother, my mom she's a super liberal. She's voted Democrat," and I've asked conservatives on the other side. I said, "Guys, what is important to you as a person?" Uniformly, we all said low taxes, low regulation, high paying jobs, and for people to stay out my business. That's it. That's it. We all said the same thing. And I just said, you know what? If no matter if it's a politician or a businessman, no matter if it's from municipal, county, state, or federal, if the policies do not push forward that agenda, do not give them your vote or your money. It's real simple. It's simple because those ideas, although it begins with you, they can live beyond you. And we all shook hands and we agree. And these were liberals and conservatives who were solution oriented. Wow, man. This video blessed me, guys. I hope it blessed you, man. I wanted to kind of go in, guys. Give me your thoughts, guys. What do you think? Give me your thoughts, man. In the comments, let me know what's going down. If you could, guys, share, like this, subscribe to the channel, man. Man, I had fun with this video, guys. But guys, that's my time. Oh, again, guys, every Friday we actually have Somewhere in the Middle with Suni and Mo. They do it on Tuesday as well, but they also do it on Friday, guys. Get it in with your boo. Watch it there with the TITM Media Group, guys. Love them to death. Get a little spicy, but you enjoy yourself as well, guys. But guys, that's my time. I end it every single time, guys. Before you leave, and while you can, you see that thing, take that damn picture and give it to your mama now. And BA, I see you on Instagram, baby. I'm going to say it with my chest, Chuck, and holla at your partner, guys. God bless you guys. See you next week. Peace.
live the king.